Once in every 6 blue moons, a subject lands in your lap as a writer. You have to know when that's happening. You have to train yourself to know, and down tools on everything else in order to pursue that story. The third of the stories is about Satoshi Nakamoto, the famous inventor of Bitcoin. A man called Craig Wright, an Australian, got in touch with me and began to tell me his story. And it was an incredible journey into the heart of this man's brilliance and his self-doubt, and eventually into his falling apart at having to reveal himself in the glare of the media as being Satoshi. I mean, Satoshi Nakamoto was barely known to me as a name when I got an email from a group of lawyers in Los Angeles saying that they represented Satoshi Nakamoto, the man who'd invented Bitcoin. Bitcoin will, I'm sure, turn out to have been one of the great technological innovations of my time. Digital currency will become the money of the future, and it was invented as a piece of software, if you like, by an individual or a group of individuals who came presenting themselves to me, wanting to tell their story. I mean, it was like every Christmas came at once, I felt, but I didn't even realize at that point how deeply troubling and strange a story it was going to be, because the person behind this invitation, the person claiming to be Satoshi Nakamoto, and so many people have claimed to be him in the past, but this guy seemed to have a better claim than anybody. Apart from anything else, his biography and his timeline entirely fitted the invention itself. Plus, his genius as a mathematician and as a computer scientist was beyond doubt from the beginning. And he came with some incredible stories of how Bitcoin had come about. So again, there I was off on another 8 months of my life involved with the strange and the estranging. In this case, with Satoshi, I felt that it was a human story, again, at its beating heart. It seemed to be swathed in digital code and in strange cloak and dagger, shadowy business of the deep net, and it is. But underneath all those layers of the unknowable and the unfindable and the uncheckable, there was a human being. And as a writer, I've always tried to find again and again the human being. With Julian Assange, I was primarily interested in the confused, slightly frightened, slightly delusional human being at the center of all that bravado and all that achievement and all that narcissism. With Ronnie Pinn, I wanted to look for the human nature in this business of having a name and having a backstory. What's the humanness in that? Does it matter? Does the real Ronnie Pinn's mother have a say in how his name might be used? This seemed a big moral question to me, worth readers confronting themselves with and trying to imagine. And with Satoshi, perhaps more than any, I went on a real-time journey into a circle of hell, really, for him. Because this man first put his shoulder to the wheel in a determination to emerge as Satoshi Nakamoto, the great computer scientist of his age, and then slowly but very firmly stepped away from the publicity, stepped away from the reality of this situation he'd agreed to, which was to out himself. He couldn't handle it, and he had a proper breakdown, a proper falling away of his reason occurred in the months I was with him. And charting that for the reader became a sort of harrowing but exciting experience. I wanted to put something on the page that was almost like a thriller. And that's how it seemed at the time. This man was running from the Australian authorities. He was hiding out in London. There was all this mystery surrounding his past. But the attempt to step into the light in company with a writer, shadowing him all the way, became an exercise almost in the meaning of writing itself, the meaning of revelation, the meaning of being explicit. It was all at the core of that story for me.